Warning, this video may contain content that may not be suitable for some. Viewer discretion is advised. On October 10, 1973, in Lebanon County, Jonesville, Pennsylvania, two deputy game protectors, Lloyd Futz and Richard Bucks, were patrolling State Route 443 near Fort Indiana Gap, in a rural area of a Union Township. Gap between Township Road and Moonshine Road, also known as 5 Point area by the locals. The deputies followed a smell described as, quote, poached and decaying deer. They walked several feet off the dirt road to find a scatter of branches and leaves on top of a nude and partially decomposed body of a female. She was found partially hidden, as the upper torso and her head showed the greatest evidence of decomposition, and also her animals had gotten to her body before her discovery. Underneath her body was a 48-inch by 32.5-inch piece of green plastic with a white seal on the plastic reading National Sanitation Foundation Testing Laboratory 8505. She had been there from approximately 1 to 3 weeks prior, since September of 1973. Her autopsy showed the individual was a white female between the ages of 12 to 22, although some sources state her age between 16 to 20, and her estimated height is being between 5'5" to 5'8". Her long hair has been described as light brown, reddish, and strawberry blonde. She had a thin nose, which the bridge of the nose was slaying slightly towards the left, while the tip slightly swayed towards the right. Other features that were noted were her high forehead, her strong tilted chin, and her large eyes. Extensive dental work was done during her life, which included multiple fillings and regular dental care, starting from the age of 6. No prior fractures, items, or clothing or even jewelry were discovered. Her cause of death remains unknown, however, it's a suspected homicide. Artist renderings were done over the years, mainly by reconstruction artist Carl Koppelman. In October of 2015, a clay reconstruction was made by PSP forensic artist trooper Mike Davis. In December of 2015, a 3D facial reconstruction was created by the National Center for the Missing Exploited Children, utilizing a CT scan of the victim's skull. In regards to the white plastic seal, I found some users on WebSleuth that each have their own thoughts based on this item, which I thought were interesting enough to include. According to WebSleuth user Phoebe G, in 1973, Ann Arbor, Michigan, was only a 7 to 8 hour drive from the crime scene. According to WebSleuther user Paradise, the seal could not be a direct link to the National Sanitation Foundation. This person claimed they used to work at in dietary at a hospital, and every piece of the equipment had used the NSF stamp on it, so it could have been from absolutely anywhere. WebSleuther user Carbuff, quote, NSF isn't a manufacturing company. It's a company that certifies all the other company products meet safety and manufacturing standards. So if there was requirement for thickness, porosity, I don't even know what else they might have. NSF puts the product through a testing process and gives the manufacturer permission to use that certification mark. So it's similar to the underwriter laboratory certificates on an electrical cord. Another user, K504, quote, I did some research and they did or still do have multiple locations, including Washington, D.C. I also found that they have worked with the military on quite a large scale. Have these been cross-referenced? Also, and I don't know if this means anything, but they also have multiple separate labs, but do not say where they are located, and I looked for a while. Initially, Jane Doe was believed to be Letzi Langer, a runaway from Jonestown, Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. Eventually, she was ruled out when she was found alive in all these years. According to Betsy, quote, "Never knew that people thought that she was dead." In May of 2019, an exhumation was done on Jane Doe. The exhumation was done at Mount Lebanon Cemetery, and she was taken to Lee Valley Hospital. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children paid and arranged for this to happen and take place. The investigation was conducted by Pennsylvania State Police Captain Nathan Trait. The research was conducted by forensic anthropologist and associate professor of anthropology at the University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida. Selected bones were taken to the University of North Texas for isotope testing. The remains were taken to Roland's funeral home for safekeeping overnight. The results showed that the chemical isotope testing showed that Jane Doe did not grow up in Lebanon County and was possibly born and raised in North or South Carolina. Her possible heritage state Jane may have possibly been European, had family there, or even her ancestors. These countries include Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Greece, Kosovo, Macedonia, Moldova, Montenegro, Romania, Serbia, Turkey, and the former Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. They also determined that her age was estimated between 14 to 19 years old. She also spent a significant time in South and Southeastern USA, and these states include Alabama, Arkansas, North and South Carolina, Delaware shorelines, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Southern Maryland, Mississippi, Southern Missouri, Eastern Oklahoma, Texas, Central and Eastern Texas, Tennessee, Eastern and Southern Virginia, Central and Southern West Virginia. Strontium and lead testing was done, and it was consistent with her being in the U.S. as her origin of birth, as well as nutrient, carbon, and oxygen testing were consistent with this theory. I would like to go over the rule-outs that I could find that have been confirmed. So from Florida, Victoria Elizabeth Bowers from Deltona, Volusia County, who disappeared May 30th, 1973. In New Jersey, Patricia Jane Wagner, who disappeared from Jersey City, Hudson County, October 20th, 1972. From Ohio, we have Sharon Lynn Pretorius from Dayton, Montgomery County, September 28th, 1973. In Pennsylvania, we have Sandra Lee Hopler from La Plume, Lackawanna County, September 29th, 1973, and she also went by the name of Sandy. And lastly, from New York, we have Cheryl Ann Tillinghast from Wassiac County, September 24th, 1973, and Rosemary E. Hamilton Buck from Syracuse, August 11th, 1973, and she also went by the name of Mary. I have conducted a list of possibilities. A note that these may be our Jane Doe, however, they may not be our Jane Doe. From Alaska, Megan Siuba and Emmerich, Seaward Kenai Peninsula Borough, July 7th, 1973. Arkansas, Margie Ada Sneed, Hot Springs, Garland County, January 1st, 1974. From Florida, we have Deborah Sue Lowe, Pompano Beach, Broward County, February 29, 1972. Judy Lynn Davis, Jacksonville, Duval County, May 13, 1972. Alexis Goodwin Dugan, Tampa, Hillsborough County, September 14, 1970. And Gail Lorraine Joyner from Thawtanassa, Hillsborough County, September 22, 1972. Georgia, Carlene Sessions Tellingas, from Macomb County, June 21, 1972. In Louisiana, we have Alice Marie Reeves from Ville Platte, Calcasieu Parish, March 25, 1967. Michigan is Pamela Sue Hobley from Oscoda, Iosco County, October 31st, 1969, and Patricia Ann Spencer from Oscoda, Iosco County, October 31st, 1969. Missouri, Christine Ann Nichols Seal, Verona, Lawrence County, June 19th, 1972. New Hampshire, Dorothy Ann Boyce, Naushel, Hillsborough County, October 3rd, 1973. She also did go by the name of Dot and sometimes use her maiden name, which is Green. New Jersey, Anne Andre Cotta, Wall Township, Monmouth County, June 26, 1973. New York, Sylvia L. Walowski, Staten Island, Richmond County, December 6, 1975, although there is a possibility that her date of disappearance was entered in wrong. Barbara Jean Alex Fitch, Bath, Steuben County, October 2, 1973, and she also did go by the name of Barbara Jean Flanagan, as was her maiden name. Pennsylvania, Rosemary Roginski, Ambridge, Beaver County, March 1st, 1973. South Carolina, Sherry Ann Jones, Greer, Greenville County, September 1st, 1972, and she also went by the name of Sherry Ann Smith. From Texas is Joyce Crayola Brower, from Grand Prairie, Dallas County, September 6, 1970. Virginia, Helen Irene Allison, Fairfax County, May 11, 1972. And lastly, Diane Lee Todd from Annandale, Fairfax County, April 10, 1973. I have conducted a list of theories that I would like to go over. The first theory is what officers do believe is a possibility, that she was abducted and murdered by two locals. The second theory we have is a hitchhiker. Jane was a hitchhiker and her killer was a trucker who was passing through the area. The third theory is that victim and or killer were both visitors and passing through the areas and either knew each other that were passing by or just happened to come across each other coincidentally. And fourth theory is victim and or killer both worked in either sanitation or food industry, the medical field, or even cleaning services. Number 5 is that the victim and or killer was linked to the military. Now, the plastic seal was possibly used in the military service, as there was also military bases nearby, including one in Washington, D.C., which is only 2 to 3 hours from the location of where Jane was found. Perhaps it was just a temporary station, training, employee, or even a visitor. And it was also a 10-minute drive to the Pennsylvania National Guard training facility. In the late 1960s to early 1970, during the Vietnam War, Fort Indiantown Gap served as one of the largest reserve officer training corps, also known as ROTC, and they also hosted summer camps for the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army Cadet Command draft ended in 1972, and the total ROTC enrollment declined significantly. Under the pilot program, women were eligible to enroll in the Army ROTC during the years in 1972 to 1973 in the school year. The program proved successful in short order, and the program was commissioning female lieutenants. Possibly Jane could have been one of these individuals, or her killer could have possibly be connected to the military. Some thoughts that I had that I just wanted to add was the age versus height. Her youngest age, according to the isotopes, was 14, but according to other sources, they do state 12. If you look at her height being the most at 5'8" and being a 12-year-old or even a 14-year-old, that's quite a tall height for someone to have, especially if we don't know Jane's weight. We can't really take an estimated guess as to was she really that young and that tall for her age. Now, looking at the plastic stamp with the laboratory, maybe the business who ordered these specific seals is not in service anymore, or perhaps it could have just been trash that just happened to fly by, or maybe, it could have been a red herring, or even if her body was dragged out of a vehicle and that just happened to drag underneath her. Another thought that I had was she covered before or after her death? Because she was only partially decomposed, so was she covered up and then the killer came back and noticed that she wasn't properly covered and tried to cover her and couldn't dig a proper hole, so he ended up covering the rest of the body with leaves and branches, right? As her upper body was exposed and her lower body wasn't, though I cannot figure out in any sources if her body was fully dug up underneath in the soil, or was it just in a shallow grave. In the end, according to Trooper Nathan Trait, quote, "If we don't care about human beings, then we lost the sight of everything," end quote. Another quote by Trooper Nathan Trait is, quote, "In 73, things are different then. They were listed as runaways, and at 17, they were removed from the system. He said, we don't do that anymore," end quote. Dentals, DNA, and fingertips are all available for comparison, and her status is now listed as a cold case. I have listed all the phone numbers and case files and sources down below for you to contact. Remember, you can always stay anonymous. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Jane Doe's story and for watching my channel. Please give this a like and a comment and consider subscribing so that we can finally shine some light on this darkness together. Thank you.